Hey, what's happening, y'all? 0 hour. We are back again, and it is time to recap the second of three shows in 3 weeks. It was Aries 9 went down this past Saturday, Camp Jordan Arena, East Ridge, Tennessee, right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we got the gang here with us. My man Jeff Hobbs. We got Dylan McCarthy. We got Houston Robertson. Guys, we're gonna break it down. What went down at Camp Jordan Arena this past Saturday night? A bit of a wild. I don't know. I don't want to say it was a wild show. It was, like from Jeff in my eyes, it was one of those hairy shows where we just, from an execution standpoint, we struggled to kind of get it on track. AV was a bit of a nightmare, but by the time we started the pro fights, things kind of started to settle in at least. And we're gonna go over it. Before we do, if you guys out there in the interwebs would give us a like, hit that subscription bell, you get notifications when we post new content. We're still posting daily fights from Aries 8 at the moment, about halfway through there. So some good action you can catch here on the channel, as well as the previews as we got coming up for the Augusta show. It's coming up this weekend. Down in Augusta, it's co-promotion. Augusta Fight Night with Aries joining forces with our buddies at Conflict MMA and the NFC for what was looking like a pretty damn good card this weekend. We're going to talk to Jared Williams of Conflict this week and break down that card. So make sure you subscribe and you'll get a notification when we get to that. Jeff, how we doing, man? Or how we holding up? It was a rough weekend as far as just not rough. I'm say long. It was a long weekend. A lot of hiccups in the actual production of the show, but it's when those happen that make you appreciate the good ones. We'll say.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It was weird. It was odd. Everything that could go right did before the show, leading up to the show, set up the day before the show. It's the first time since I've been doing this that on show day, I mean, I was able to leave the venue at 10 a.m. and go back to the hotel and just chill for hours waiting. That's how good the day went. After the show, breakdown, tear down, we were out of there so fast. Everything was
Yeah.
great. It was everything between the lines that,
Yeah.
now don't get me wrong. The fights were good. The fights were great. The athletes put on a show and they did what they were supposed to do. Like you said, it's things that nobody else would really probably notice or get bothered by as much as we did. But, things start snowballing. We had some AV and sound problems that just could not get fixed. And, the timing was off on a lot of things. And it starts making everything else seem bigger. And, the little things that went wrong just seem larger once you were kind of irritated with things. But, man, I don't want to dwell on that though, because like I said, at the end of the day though, the guys came and they fought, they put on a show, they fought their hearts out and did what they were supposed to do, regardless of whether their music was right or not. They put on a show.
Let's get into it, guys. We'll talk about these fights. Led off with another juniors modified MMA bout at 125 pounds. It was Audie Baker of Maryville BJJ defeating Aaron Selfers of North Georgia High Stand by unanimous decision, 29-28, 3 times on all the scorecards. That's 2-1. Houston, take us through this one. I watched it. These fights, first off, are kind of hard to judge, period, because it's really hard to get a really solid offensive advantage going on the ground if you're trying to just only strike to the body. But I was really kind of tied up during this one because this was right when the shit was hitting the fan on the audio stuff. So I only really kind of got to see the third round from me just kind of watching it out of one eye. I had it for Selfers. Watching it back on video, I definitely had it for Selfers. But all the same, a good experience. Taking nothing away from Audie Baker's performance, they both did really good. A lot of experience gained from this one.
I kind of felt like I had it the same way too. So I'm glad you kind of broke the ice on that. It was a little challenging, and like you said, there was a couple of challenges at the beginning of the night, and that fight was also a little bit subject to that as well. I know Dylan and I caught. I'm not sure if anyone else did, but Audie with Baker was ready to go. He was in his corner. He was ready. Aaron had come out, and he forgot his shin pads. And so there was a little bit of time delay there.
Put it on the list.
Yeah. I think I even looked at Dylan and said, we're starting the night off right. And so, it was just those small hiccups. But, you look at somebody like Audie that's ready to go and he's in the cage, and that takes a couple extra minutes. And that, his corner was talking to him, don't let this bother you. Come on, let's keep getting warmed up. And it's difficult. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that these fighters take time and getting warmed up and getting prepared, and they go out there. They kind of hope everything kind of meshes in the time clock that they're looking for. With that said, I think this was a really, really fun fight. It was really exciting. Lots of really good back and forth. I think I saw it a little differently as well. I think that maybe I favored Aaron Selfers as that one as well, but would love to see these guys take it on again. And if there's any indication for these two as what's to come in the future, I'm excited to see them both.
Yeah, it's still 3 years till these guys are 18 years old. So if they stay at it, a lot of potential there for these guys. Moving on, we had our first of 2 tag team bouts. This one was a lot of fun. This is what I envision. Our tag team stuff, like just elevating to this and better and more, because both these teams had a lot of great strategy. It was Richardguerrero and Josh Booker taking on Josh Maynard and Corey Johnson out of Nashville. Richardguerrero and Josh Booker out of Agogi. This one ended up going to the Agogi team, 2 subs to 1 after 10 minutes, but a lot of back and forth action here, Jeff. This is one of those that both these teams really kind of pick up the strategy aspect of it and made it really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you envision and what it's all about when you start talking about putting on tag team grappling matches. A lot of skill back and forth. 1-0, 1-1. Pull out a submission at the end to make it 2-1. But right when we thought we were getting ready to start setting up for some EBI overtime rules, pulling out the final submission. But all these guys were so skilled. What stands out to me most was, I know he hasn't been in a fight camp in a while. Richardguerrero looked thick and strong. And
he sure did.
Good. Yeah, he looked so confident and good in this fight. It's got me thinking about cards that we got coming up at the end of the show. And I'm thinking, man, I know that last fight against Bailey, he was heavy, but I don't know, when he's that thick and he looked in just great, phenomenal shape. It's like maybe he could fight heavier, from time to time, but he looks so good. I was watching the fight thinking about what the hell we could do with Richardguerrero next.
He looked awesome. Went to the old RNC as always as well.
Yes, and he looks so good against bigger guys. Both those guys on the other side of the cage were bigger guys. Yeah, they were hosses. They were big guys. So, but in this one, you could tell the guys who had done this before, the strategy, was really in play. So, I enjoyed this one. We'll get to the next one next, but this is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the next one was not quite as exciting as what I was hoping. It was another tag team bout. It was Eric Lewis and Kyle Castelline out of Huntsville, Alabama, taking on Brivin Sullivan, Andrew Sturdivant from Agogi. And we ended up having a stalemate on this one, 0-0 after the full 10 minutes. Positionally, the Agogi guys controlled a good part of it, but no one ever really got very close on any subs, unfortunately, and just didn't quite get the engagement that we were hoping for in this one. Dylan, your take on this one? I think both teams kind of were, I don't want to say hesitant, but played it a little more conservatively, we'll say.
Well, not a lot to say other than it was a very almost a European football ending there, 0-0, 0-0. But I actually said that I already used that one once. But honestly, there were some flurries about 5 minutes in. You saw some rapid tags there with Eric Lewis and his tag team partner, Kyle, Kyle's personality was very funny. The Agogi boys had their intro, and Kyle found a way to wander right in front of the camera shot and just basically ham it up in front of their camera intro. But the personalities kind of were more on display than the skills, and it's not that they weren't skilled. You had some skilled talent in the ring with the teams there. It's just there was a lot of mirroring of posture going on. Brevin started to roll around like a panda. Houston on commentary made a great point that maybe some warnings for I wouldn't say inactivity, but passivity should have been issued from the ref. But it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. I'd like to see a little more activity, but. Listen, I'm excited for Brivin Sullivan's next fight.
I think these guys
maybe not his next tag team fight, but his next fight.
For real here next time. All right, moving
Yep.
on to our final preliminary bout. It was our only Muay Thai fight. It was a heavyweight bout, and it saw Hank Peppers of Agogi get the unanimous decision win over Chaos's Johnny Hutchinson. Unanimous decision, 30-26 across the board. There was a point deduction in the third round where Johnny kept losing his mouth guard, I think 3 times, something along that line. So referee Caleb Miller took a point there. That's where we got to that 30-26. But Dylan, I'll go back to you since you didn't have a whole lot to talk about on the last one. And this one was a fun one. I gave Caleb Miller some props because this was not an easy one to control. These guys were, both guys led with their head a lot, and both guys were busted up there in the first round. And I honestly think, after watching it back, I think it could have been from a head clash for both, because both guys would lead in with their head a lot. And right in that area, I think maybe they clashed heads.
I'll just right out of the gate, this definitely brought the energy up in the building. And I thought Johnny Hutchinson, to make a first impression in front of all of us, was pretty good. I mean, he came out and immediately pumped the jab, and I don't know, it might have been a head clash, but I knew he drew blood on Hank with an immediate something very early in the first round, and it kind of was a harbinger of the fact that Hank was not going to come in here and be out of there in less than a minute like he was in his last MMA contest. If Johnny Hutchinson just gets a little more conditioning, he's got an edge to him. He's young, and the hands looked very, very dangerous for him. What he ran into trouble with was when he would get in the clinch and Hank would be able to pump those knees to the breadbasket. I feel like that did the most meaningful damage of the fight, were Hank Pepper's knees. In the end, I think the judges saw it that way too. Johnny Hutchinson did slow a little bit, but he was dangerous the entire 3 rounds. As far as what happened in the third with the mouthpiece, I feel like that's a function of fatigue. We've seen guys in between rounds forget to put their mouthpiece in to buy themselves a little extra time out there to catch their breath. And I think maybe, you're the first thing when you're out of breath, your mouth is going to open up. The mouthpiece could fall out, and I think he was just gassed. And there's no shame in that because there was very, very active rounds. So Hank Peppers stays unbeaten in the building there, and Johnny Hutchinson is somebody who I'm definitely aware of now and looking forward to seeing him compete the next time he comes out here for Aries.
Yeah, I'm curious when we'll see Hank again. If he's trying to get one more in before they go back to school. I know there's some guys out there that would like to fight him if he can get another one in here before too long. And then Johnny Hutchinson is booked. Actually, we haven't announced it yet because we didn't know how he's going to come out of this fight. But he is booked for our July 8th card to go back at it again against a guy from Mushindo in Marietta. So we'll get another look at Johnny Hutchinson. His spirits were still high afterward, and he was eager to get back to it. So moving on to the amateur MMA portion of the card here. And, this one we started off middleweights, 2 debut fighters here. Bradley Belt accepts this fight on about a little less than a week's notice, as he knocks off Kyle O'Neal out of a highest stand, round 1 TKO, 2 minutes and 28 seconds in. And this one, Jeff, got a performance of the night.
It did, and it also got a little scary.
Yeah.
A long delay after the fight, scary moment there, trying to make sure that Kyle O'Neal was okay. We definitely, medical staff took their time with him and did a great job. But he got up still kind of woozy after. But man, Bradley Belt looked great. I mean, like I said, a wild card. We didn't know anything about him. Approached us a week prior and said he wanted to fight ASAP. Wins the next show, and thought you were going to scare him off when you said in 6 days or 7 days, and it didn't. His stand-up really looked good. More of a counter puncher and timely counter punching. Fought real tall and rangy, and was just crisp with his punches. Kyle O'Neal, I've never seen anybody take shots like he did. He took shots and kept coming and was eating them until he couldn't eat anymore. And when the button was finally pushed, the referee was able to get in there and stop it, but the damage was already done. And it definitely showed on him after the bout that it took him a while to come around and get his wits about him. But unfortunately, Bradley was ready to the adrenaline's pumping, and he's ready to get back in as soon as possible. But the day after, feelings set in, and he's got a nice, big, swollen, fat left hand right now. So he's going to go get that looked at. It's just funny to me how that happens. You feel great after a fight, and then you wake up the next day and stuff starts hurting, and you could tell the damage he had put on Kyle O'Neill by looking at his hands the next day. But impressive guy, athletic guy, man, a pure athlete, and I would love to see. That's a weight class, Tim. I know you always talk about that. You just wish was deeper and wish we had more 185ers out there, and it looks like this guy could make some waves in there.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that this division is just getting more and more rich by the day. Definitely Bradley Belt, a nice addition to that division. And I think that, I'd like to see Kyle O'Neill again as well. Moving on to the next one, it was another debut, Isaiah Parker out of Agogi at 155 pounds, getting his win in his first fight as he knocks off Hunter Anderson out of Gallatin Martial Arts, round 1 sub, rear naked choke, 1:52 seconds in. Really nice performance over a pretty tough game, Hunter Anderson. Let's go to his teammate here, Houston. Talk long enough for me to go in here and shut my child off.
Well, I'll jump back since we have a little bit of time. I want to jump back into Kyle O'Neill and see if anyone else besides Dylan and I saw the left ear of Kyle O'Neill after he took that hit from Bradley Belt. And a couple other people had gotten pictures and sent it to me, and his ears were pretty rough going into that fight, but that thing exploded. That ear got really, really bad, and you can only tell that was a pretty solid impact to that left side, and it's going to cause some damage over time. So.
Absolutely, because I saw when they were working on him, when they finally got him standing up, you saw Mark Laws go to the ear and start trying to press out some of that, fluid and get it out. So I didn't see it when it happened, but I saw when they were working on him that they moved from seeing if he's okay to the ear.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. That took blunt of the impact from the throws that he was having. It was RIP to that ear, definitely. But yeah, moving on to Hunter and Isaiah, I wasn't surprised. I know that Hunter was tough, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him because he is a tough guy. Hunter Anderson had a great 1-1 record now, but I said that before the fight, and I'm going to stand by it. You're going to have a really tough game opponent that wants to take it to the deep end to beat someone like Isaiah. Isaiah's natural ability is incredible. He's a guy that's already played a lot of sports already to know what it's like to be under that light and know what it's like to be under the pressure. He was an amazing baseball pitcher for his entire life from what I know, and competed in some pretty high level baseball and would never take any stress, never pressure, and always just performed really well. And I think that's what we're going to see from Isaiah for quite some time, is somebody that's strong, very athletic, and is going to handle pressure very, very well. So I'm excited to see who his next opponent is because, one of my partners or not, the sky's the limit for that kid. It really is. So
what I noticed about him, Houston, was I didn't know about his athletic background like that, but he was so calm, cool, and collected the whole fight weekend. Didn't really talk, didn't intermingle or interact with anybody. It was such business, from the time he walked into the gym for weigh-ins. Almost if you didn't know him, you'd think he was standoffish, but it was just in the zone competitiveness from the time he walked in from weigh-ins till the time he left the building after the fight. It was all business.
Yeah, and with him, we can all think of that friend that was really quiet when you first met, and then you opened up that, can, and it's very sarcastic, and that's kind of how Isaiah is. Like, a lot of our back and forth is us just making fun of each other, and he's actually better than I am. I have to be careful. Sometimes what he says hurts a little bit, but truly, truly an incredible athlete, and I'm really excited to see what his future is going to be in this sport. I really am.
Well, we appreciate everybody's patience getting through that little debacle here. It goes along with this show, honestly. So we've got up next, guys. We've got bout number 7, another MMA bout, heavyweight division. Josh McKee of Militia MMA gets the night started strong for that team as he defeats Logan Hillbrandt from Ultimate MMA down in Alabama. Round 1, TKO, 2 minutes 40 seconds in. McKee moves to 2-0. Hillbrandt, I thought, accounted pretty dang well for himself for about the first half of this fight. He was actually landing some really nice strikes and wrestling pretty good back and forth with him. The gas tank started to drain a little bit towards the end. I think that was his undoing, but nice win for McKee, and I'd love to have Logan Hillbrandt back too. Dylan.
Yeah, Hillbrandt. Yeah. No, I knew it. This one was exciting, and it actually had a lot of the same traits that Josh McKee's first fight at Aries Fight Series 6 did, where he faced some adversity in the first round. And this time, Hillbrandt had the big looping power punches, and 1 or 2 of them grazed. And all I have to do is graze because there's so much on them. But the name of the game was stay the course. He just implemented that wrestling. He showed the level of grappling that's been instilled there at Militia MMA. That was definitely on display this night. And McKee just really gave that home crowd something to cheer about as the first round got a little bit later, got the superior position, rained down enough blows, and it was one-way traffic to the point that the referee had to call it off. So he's a big-time rising star. Aries heavyweights are kind of – that division's pulling itself together a little bit. You're starting to see some talent shake out, and he's definitely somebody to watch because that the collegiate wrestling that he has been the X factor now in his last 2 fights. And at heavyweight, if you've got above average to elite level wrestling, that could be a very, very important weapon on the road to getting a title belt around your waist. So he's definitely got my attention. And anytime McKee is on the card, I'm excited because he's shown composure and he's got a high level grappling. And as the rest of the game comes together, he's going to be a problem for any heavyweights that want to get in there with him.
And
He's
the word
on the mic too.
Yeah, he is. He's one of these guys. He's very loose and he's funny. And word is from Tom though is he will be going to 205 now. He is on the smaller side of heavyweight and will be.
He is
to 205. So maybe a future potential challenger to Zane Burton there for that 205 strap. That would be a lot of fun to do.
That'd be awesome. That would be an awesome fight.
Let's see here. Moving on, we had 130-pound catch weight up next. Michael Robinson out of Black Dragon MMA gets his first win in MMA as he defeats Cody Ortiz round 1. I guess you would call it a TKO or a verbal submission. I guess those may be the same thing. Minute 24 seconds in. A little bit of an odd one here, Jeff. Not at the time, no one was really quite sure what was going on, but back and forth fight. Neither guy had really taking a whole lot of control about Robinson doing well with the strikes in and out, but Cody throwing up submission attempts, things like that, and then he waved it off, and we had a bit of a medical situation.
Yeah, our second medical situation of the night.
Yeah,
that ate up some time. I mean, kind of another one though that was scary because you just didn't know what was going on, and Cody Ortiz kind of holding his chest, holding his heart. So again. Then it even gets a little more concerning because you're not really talking injury as maybe something more cardiac or something. So again, kind of, I saw there's only, a few times I've seen it where it gets you out of your chair and you walk around to the other side of the cage to get close by. And that was one of those times that you needed a close up of what was going on. We were all concerned. Still really don't know what the problem was. I think he said he just kind of couldn't breathe. Who knows right now? Life is so weird right now with viruses and vaccines and, respiratory stuff going on. You just don't know, what's going on out there. If things have just affected somebody differently than somebody else. I know, when my son got the funk, trying to go out and practice football, just about killed him.
Yeah.
So who knows, man? I don't know. I hope he gets things checked out and looked at, and I hope he's better. But congrats to Michael Robinson. He's he's had a tough road up to this point in competition, and this was supposed to be a bout for both these guys to shine and really show, what they've got. I thought Robinson, like you said, was really good with the in and out, mixing up the low kicks, calf kicks, and getting out real quick. But let's not forget, I mean, Michael Robinson this was 130 pounds. He traditionally would be 125 pounder, but if there was an 120-pound division, he would probably, do that. He's put together really nice and he's in shape, but he is a small kid. In fact, I got a text message during the fight from somebody watching at home, and it was just like, what the hell weight class is this? Because of, Michael Robinson's stature. But, he's explosive and he's got something there. He's just at a size that, he's just going to have to continue to be careful about fights that he accepts and, not trying to get up in weight too much. I don't know. How many 115-pound male fights have you ever put together, Tim?
None. I ever just like randomly there will be someone that will ask about that, and I'm always just like, I don't know anybody that small, and it's never actually worked out. So if I could keep all my messages forever, and like every 2 or 3 years there would be one that comes through if the other guy's still even trying to fight. But
now you do. But I will say it does though. Regardless of how the win came about and what was going on, it's been. Nice seeing things that Michael Robinson has tagged since then. He's excited to get a slash in the win column, and he feels good. I feel good for him.
All right, main event on the amateur side. This one was a good one, man. Both these guys put together. Come from great teams, and this was one that I kind of had circled as one to watch. Lightweight action, 155 pounds. It was George Carpenter making it a clean sweep from Militia MMA on the night, 2-0, as he moves to 2-0 with a first round submission via rear naked choke. That one was over Lucius van Rensburg. 2 minutes, 30 seconds in. That also gets a performance of the night award, Houston. And, Van Rensburg was certainly game here. There were some really good scrambles by both guys. Carpenter with a knack for kind of getting to the back, it seemed like. But it just took that one kind of weird scramble that put Lucius in a spot that he eventually couldn't escape. But both these guys, studs, man.
Yeah, I think my only disappointment in this fight is that it ended in the first round.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
No, I didn't either. And I think that Dylan and I talked about it quite a bit. And there's a lot of guys in our gym that I said, man, this is going to be a crazy fight. I was really looking forward to seeing Lucius. He had a lot of fans in the area. And from what I'm told, originally he's not from around this area, but even more so when he lives here in the States, that this was not a really close area for him. I was hoping to see that fight go a couple more rounds. With that said, I was already a pretty big George Carpenter fan after his first fight. I'm even a bigger fan now because Lucius came in with a pretty, with high credentials, and George kind of said, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to do my business, and he took care of it pretty quick. So I definitely want to see both of these guys a lot more often. George Carpenter, I think kind of same thing. Sky's the limits for him. Lucius, I hope we see him again, and I don't think that was the performance that we were all expecting out of him, but it was a great fight, and I truly wish it was maybe 1 or 2 more rounds longer because some of those scrambles were really, really exciting, and let's see what these guys have in store for us in the future.
Jeff, Carpenter immediately inserts himself into the picture at that 155. Even at 2-0, he's got wins over 2 good high caliber opponents. I think he's going to be taking it off till the fall, is what I'm hearing, probably till October. In the meantime, that 155 title, while Craig French is away, will be sorted out most likely in Nashville. But with Carpenter awaiting the winner, he'll be a handful, I think, for whoever has the title.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the guy. There's no way he's not going to be ignored. It doesn't seem.
Yeah, he's a hoss, man. That's one of the bigger 155 amateurs you're ever going to see. Let's go on to the pro portion of the card now, fellas. And we started off with heavyweight action. It was Torres the Punisher Finney improving to 2-0 in his young professional career with a First round TKO to strikes, 2 minutes and 14 seconds in over Big Daddy Jake Zog. We'll go around the horn on these pros and get everybody's take. This one was Torres was a very hefty favorite with the betting odds, and he delivered for those that put their hard-earned money down on him. Let's start with Jeff here. We'll go around the horn. Your takeaway here from this heavyweight fight. I thought, there was a big size discrepancy here as evidence in the weigh-in pictures and just seeing these guys side by side. So the first time I can recall that we didn't see Finney put somebody over his head.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me preface too, Mr. Zog did tell me not to reference the Big Daddy, so I didn't. Yeah. He told me to keep that out of the introduction.
Oh, okay.
I guess we're getting away from it.
Okay.
But I guess the odds were what they were because this is what odds makers and I think the majority of the public expected to happen. My personal disappointment in it was, Finney said that he was going to work on his striking, and as soon as that bell rang, he went straight in and grabbed a hold of him, and I busted his balls after the fight. Where the hell was the striking at, Finney? And he told me, he's like, man, he said the bell rings and instinct takes over.
Instinct sometimes is just prevails.
He said it just takes over, and you just realize, oh shit, I'm in a fight. I'm not working on nothing. I'm going to what I know. But what I will say was interesting is when he got his hands on him and pushed Zog up against the cage, there was, relatively speaking, because of how quick Finney fights usually go, there was a long time on the cage because he had Zog's back on the cage, trying to get that double leg, it seemed. But Zog just, from the waist up, leaned over and just put all his weight on Finney's back, on his shoulders. And it kind of stymied things for a while there. And, for a second, I did think, at some point is carrying that weight on his back and on his shoulders going to, play a factor. But Finney does what Finney does, and he ended up being persistent, and he got him to the ground. And once Finney gets you in that position, the wild man comes out, is just swinging for the fences away. And that's what you're supposed to do in those situations. You're supposed, sometimes people tell you screw technique. I'm going to start swinging to make the referee stop the fight. That's how you do it. That's strategy, man. Whether they're hitting or not, whether he's covered up, I'm going to swing so much that you have to stop the fight. Some good shots were getting in there. Zog was kind of playing the head game a little, trying to get out of the way. So punches were going everywhere, but there was no way Finney was going to stop punching until the referee stepped in and stopped that fight. And he got the win. What were we at too? Like 2 minutes, 2:14.
2:14, yeah.
Yeah, 2:14. So, Finney grabs the mic, does his thing. I don't even really have to interview him. Just hand it to him and let him do his thing.
Cut the promo.
Yeah, and really, that's what it's amounted to anymore. I don't even have to ask a question. He just goes ahead and asks for it, and I give it to him. And he cut one. He cut us one, man, and says he wants on that damn August card. And, according to him, it's an open invitation. And he said if someone will sign it, let's do it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Houston, your thoughts on this one? At this point, Agogi moves to 4-0 on the evening, I believe, and the train's rolling along. The Torres, the Punisher train is on the track still.
Yeah, I was talking to Finney the next day, and my wife was in the other room, and she goes, "Did Finney pick him up or not?" And I said, "No, he didn't, sadly." So, it was the two things everyone was looking for. It was either to show off his striking or to see him get picked up. And I told Finney, I said, "Yeah, we saw a great example of your striking the last 8 seconds of the fight." So, kind of disappointed there, but great fight and great for Jacob to come in and take the fight. Really, really experienced fighter. And I think it might have been actually extra challenging. Anytime you fight Finney, it's a challenge, but I think it could have been really extra challenging for Jake because if you look back historically, he was actually he was one of the smaller guys in a lot of the guys that he had fought previously.
Yeah.
So I think going against a guy that was that much shorter and that much smaller was an additional challenge to him. So we'll see what happens in August. But yeah, it was kind of to be expected from Finney.
Dylan, wrap us up on this one.
One serious point and then one point that's a lot less serious. The serious point was Finney just showed that elite level strength and ability to get a man of much greater size down to the ground, get superior position, rain down strikes until the referee had seen enough. And that is going to serve him very well as he moves forward and has more pro fights. He's probably, when he gets his hand raised, that's going to be the way that it looks most times for him because he's just so big and strong and he's just such a good wrestler that he'll get you to a position you don't want to be, that you can't defend yourself, and then he'll beat you senseless, and then he'll get up and he'll cut his promo, and it'll be great. And that was awesome. I love when somebody throws down the gauntlet and has some charisma, and it's just a shame that it's a little bit murky, and hopefully we find him an opponent. So officially the fight had one takedown, but unofficially there was a takedown at the end of the fight. I felt very bad right in front of us. The corner for
you mentioned
I had to, buddy. That was you're snickering so much. It was the longest fall you've ever seen. Ice went all over the cage.
That might be the only time we ever see Josh Kate actually cry. I think he laughed so hard.
Yeah, that's what I had to mention it because Josh lost it. Josh was ear to ear smiles, and I've tried to make him laugh a couple of times, and it doesn't always work. But he was so giddy about that. And I'm just glad the young lady's okay because at the end of the day, she was doing her thing as the corner person. And honestly, for what the odds indicated, Jake represented himself where he made it difficult to take down. And I think he kind of made Torres engage the wrestling because he is a seasoned and experienced striker. But yeah, that wipe out there from his corner person was awfully funny. In all seriousness, though, I'm excited for Finney moving forward, and just the sky's the limit for that guy. So hopefully he gets on the next card and we can see him fight again soon.
Working through that, guys. Hopefully we can. I can tell you I've got 3 guys that have said yes. So we'll see if we can't get Finney on that amped show. All 3 of them look like they would be pretty fun fights too. So hopefully we get it worked out. Moving on to the co-main event is going to be a catchweight at 150 pounds. Zack Hicks makes his return to action after a couple years off with injuries, and he defeats Delaney first round submission via guillotine choke, I believe it was, or was it rear naked choke? Was that rear naked choke?
Rear naked choke,
yeah, it was rear naked. I'm sorry, I wrote that down wrong. Yeah, rear naked choke, 3 minutes and 8 seconds in. Houston, start us off on this one.
Yeah, really exciting fight. I think I was excited to see both these guys, but Zack Hicks in particular. We knew a little bit about what he had faced over this past year, but I think nobody really knew the extent of it until after his fight. So to see him win after everything he went through over this past year was really exciting. Corey's a great fighter. I had a chance to watch a lot of his fights before this one, and Zack is too. So, ended up being a great fight for the short time that it was living, but when's the next Zack Hicks fight? That's what I want to know because it was exciting.
We're looking at Zack Hicks on that AMP show as well, and some pretty fun matchups getting tossed around. I believe everybody will be excited for what we work out there. Dylan, your take on this co-main event? I thought that Delaney started off pretty strong. Got a nice slam early. Hicks sprang up pretty quickly, and then he jumped guard on a guillotine attempt that was pretty tight, but in hindsight may have been his undoing ultimately.
I agree. Yeah, Josh and I actually kind of said that maybe a lesser skilled opponent might have succumbed to that guillotine, but the experience of Hicks ended up winning the day, and I thought. It was a really good chance. This is the first time I've actually seen Zack Hicks fight in person, and to have him bring the family in afterwards, and you just get kind of a sense of what a great guy he is, being a teacher and being a great family man. It was awesome, and he just obviously had overcome a lot. He was kind of sharing aspects of himself and bearing his soul there on the mic after the fight, and you couldn't help but just have a sense of admiration for what the guy must have gone through with the knee and just some of the trials and tribulations that life can throw your way. So hopefully we can get him back in there before he has to go and do class with the kids because that was awesome. Delaney had been making some waves. He just won a fight less than a month ago, and he's a real athletic specimen. So to bounce back from a knee injury and get a round 1 stoppage via submission, that's an awesome win for Hicks.
Jeff, wrap us up on this co-main.
Yeah, Zach's always, for as long as I've known him, probably damn near a decade. I mean, you meet a lot of good guys in this sport. You really do. I mean, there's the amount of assholes is actually pretty small. A lot of good guys, but Zack Hicks is one of those. Not just a good guy. He's a good human being. Just one of the most honest, down to earth, and respectful guys. And I love seeing him happy right now in his life. And I personally think that that's been some of the improvement of his professional life with fighting, is what a good spot he's in his personal life. Corey is a great guy, and the respect these two showed for each other, and the admiration they had for each other, and how complimentary they were of each other was nice to see too. I will say, again, you kind of question Corey's game plan sometimes. We saw it before, running in and getting a takedown on David Robbins, but asking yourself, why did you take down David Robbins? And he came right in, and, Corey has got good stand-up. He's shown it. He's got, decent hands, and to come right in and get this thing to the ground, which is, where Zack ultimately probably wanted to fight, was a bit questionable too. I thought the guillotine was tight as well. But a person like Zack Hicks, as seasoned as he was as an amateur, I mean, he was a long time. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we're talking, 5-6 year amateur. I mean,
yeah, realistically, he's got probably 13 or 14 amateur fights listed, but realistically had 20 plus.
Yeah, because all those Clarksville and
they just
fights,
don't show up. Yeah,
just aren't showing up. And then again, sitting at 5-4, a 9-fight pro, he's not going to panic in situations like that. And he stayed the course and looked good doing it. Feel good story. You couldn't help but, those are the ones I'm trying to ask questions in the cage after, and I'm watching, his bottom lip start to shiver, and it makes it harder for me to ask the questions just because of all the emotion that's going on at the time. But I couldn't be happier for the kid. And, kind of like Dylan said, let's hurry up and get them back in. Let's hurry up and get them back in before, knock on wood, nothing goes wrong, again, or sets them back. So he really wants to fight at home in front of, the hometown crowd. For kids at school that want to come watch, to come see Mr. Hicks do it, his Here Comes the Boom real life story. I think that would be real cool. So hopefully we can get that thing set, and he's ready to go. He's ready. He said he's ready to take a week to relax and then get his ass back in the gym and get ready, hopefully, for August.
Main event time, the 5 rounds for our first ever Aries Professional Lightweight Championship. This is what everybody's looking forward to, y'all. And we went from having a lot of first round finishes to going all 5 rounds here, as Pat Crumpton improves to 6-1, representing Nashville MMA, the new Aries and first ever Aries Professional Lightweight Champion, as he defeats Logan, the real deal Neal, out of Agogi by unanimous decision, 50-45 across the board. Just a grueling fight, very taxing on both guys. They were both just drenched with sweat by the second round, and one that Pat really had to earn. But I think that he put a definitive stamp on it with just kind of the same game plan every round, and it worked for him, So this is one of those fights where you hate it for Logan because he worked hard for it. He was in great shape. He was he looked really big. But I think when he watches this fight back, he's going to see some moments probably where maybe he would have done a few things differently. Namely, in my opinion, as the fight got a bit later on, just making sure to try to disengage and strike versus, when he would work his way up from a takedown or work his way off of his back off the cage and then go for his own takedowns, where I think may have been where he missed out on some opportunities here. But congrats regardless. Pat had a great game plan. He stuck to it the entire time. He's a very, very tough 6-1 now. And I'd love to see Pat on that national show. Don't know if it's going to happen. We'll see. We're talking. Pat, if you're out there, we want you on the national Nashville show. But congrats. He has also fought a lot lately. So, he's been very active and is wanting a little bit of a break, and who could fault him for that? Jeff, Dylan, this is your turn to lead us off on this one. Great main event, and, delivered there 5 good, hard-fought rounds.
Yeah, it was awesome. Two sides of the coin here, and we'll start with the side that came up a little bit short. Logan Neal, in the moments where he shined in the fight, he really did, and it looked like there was going to be a path if he could have just kept a little bit of more separation throughout the course of the fight. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but his hands looked very quick. He definitely had bulked up a little bit, and he looked very strong. It wasn't easy for Pat to control him. So, I mean, he doesn't have a lot to hang his head about other than maybe a couple of times in the fight where he could have disengaged and maintained distance and utilized some of those things in his advantage, like the hand speed. But the other side of this coin is Pat Crumpton and just what he does to opponents and what he's going to continue to do to opponents, because each time I've seen him fight, and you're right, he's been very active. I think I've seen him fight 4 times at this point. The guy has looked immeasurably better each time out. He's implemented his game plan, whether it's his physique or his strategy or both improving. Grapevine the legs, suck you back, suck your hips out from underneath you and drop you back down to where he wants you. He'll get wrist control. They won't be the most punishing blows you've ever seen the entire time he's controlling you. And the whole time that you are trying to get out from underneath him, you're carrying his weight. And in a 5-round fight, even if you're in great shape, that motor is just going to wear on you. So Pat Crumpton is the new champion. He's definitely deserving of that title. He takes the lightweight title back to Nashville a couple of months before the company goes out to Nashville. And just tons of kudos to him, because he's improved each time I've seen him fight. He's got a pretty hardcore group of people who come out and support him every time, and he feeds off of that energy. So he is going to need to continue to draw upon that, and he's going to be a great champion for the company, and I look forward to seeing his next bout.
Jeff, Pat's a guy, I was talking to him after the show at the hotel, and, we were just bantering back and forth, and, he said he's always been a guy at a gym where there's always been someone that's got a little bit more spotlight than him. He's kind of toils in the shadows to a degree. There's been some, great guys coming out of that Nashville MMA gym, but this kind of felt like, Pat's time to shine, Pat's spotlight, and he took advantage of it.
Yeah, you hit that on the head, man. I mean, he's always been but even for like somebody like Dylan, who feels like he's seen Pat a lot, and he's right, we have. They haven't kind of been around to see that we didn't see Pat for a long time. He's making up for lost time. I mean, he would fight once and then you wouldn't see him for a year. He'd fight again and you wouldn't see him for 6 or 7 months. So Dylan, Houston, they're getting to see Pat at that moment where he had just come back and said, you know what, I'm going full steam ahead with this career. And by God, he did. He's looking great, man. I don't know how else you could put it. I mean, these last 2 performances, they stand out so much because he looks so good. And these were not your average opponents, or these aren't schlubs he's, looking like this against. These are good fighters, man. Logan is a good fighter. I don't care what his records, is. If it's 3-3, 3-4, that dude's
Will
good,
Banks.
man. He's Will Banks. The dude's good, man. But Pat is just quietly and awkwardly, just becoming a force to reckon with. He's a good guy, man. He's nice to everybody, but he has got an animal, inside of him that has just come out here this year. And, it bothers me a little bit when I hear people talk about his fights are boring or, things like that. I was like, how is that fight boring? I was like, he's not a lay in prayer. He's taking you down. And please don't take me the wrong way. I'm not comparing Pat to GSP by any means, but his style, as far as being opportunistic about finding the takedown and staying busy and working once he's got him down, he's not just holding a position. He had some of the sneakiest elbows in this fight. that you almost wouldn't notice if you weren't really paying. I mean, but it's just those little ones that he's trying to sneak in. If he sees the opportunity, he's staying busy trying to get shots in. There was a huge knee in that 5th and final round that was right in front of us, me and Tim's panel, and it sounded like someone had just kneed a watermelon. It was such, a deep thud on his forehead that crumpled, Logan. He had to go down at that point. Now, props to Logan that he shook that damn thing off and kept going, because I thought he's going to get a finish here in this last waning moments, and it wasn't happening. Logan was not going to he was not going to fold. He was not going to let it happen. But fuck, man. I mean, Pat's hot right now. He's on a hot streak, and like you just said, he's always been in the gym. There's been maybe some more, I don't want to say better fighters, accomplished fighters, but like you said, in the spotlight, guys that were maybe in bigger fights at the moment or on bigger promotions, bigger shows. And he's waited his time out. And I think it makes him feel good right now. And it's been nice to see some focus and attention, be on Pat right now, because he's earned it. And he's getting it from those same guys, though, that were getting the spotlight before him. Those guys are noticing. And I'm talking to those guys, and they're reaching out. And they're excited about how Pat's looking right now, and they're proud of him, and they're just in awe of how far he's coming along and how good he looks right now.
Houston, final take on the card here. Hard-fought battle. I know Logan's disappointed, but really nothing to hang his head over. It's a very tough guy that he went 25 hard minutes with. And, Logan is taking on a very, very tough strength of schedule at the end of the day. I hope he isn't too far down on himself to where we don't see him, stay at it here and stay active. I don't want it to be another year, before we see him again. Props to you for staying very neutral on commentary in a spot where, that's a teammate of yours out there in a tough spot. And you called it perfectly.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I've known Logan almost since I started training, and we're really close personally, and a good friend of mine. And whether he wants to admit it or not, we're good friends. So it was tough to watch, but what I was kind of seeing through that whole time is, it's almost like that sense where you're stuck in traffic. You just don't know when to hit the gas. And you're like, okay, I'm stuck here, and I'm stuck in this lane. I'm stuck in that lane, and I felt like after talking to Logan after the fight, he kind of felt the same way, where he just, man, dang, I was just a half a step behind the whole fight. That's just how I felt. And when I decided to turn the gas on, it wasn't enough gas, and it wasn't for long enough. And I definitely agreed with him. With that said, you talk about some of Logan's, losses, and I agree. I hope he doesn't dwell on this one for very long at all, because, wherever Pat Crumpton goes, I want to see who else is going to go 5 5-minute rounds with Pat Crumpton.
Right.
I want to see that guy. I want to meet that person who can also go to war with Pat like Logan did. So, yeah, it was an amazing fight. It was really tough, because after watching this is the third Pat Crumpton fight I saw. The first two, I said, wow, this guy's awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan. I want to see him a lot. So when we saw that card with him and Logan, wow, this is going to be a tough one to call. Yeah. And, it really was. But Pat, was exciting. Dylan had mentioned he brought his whole entourage with him, and they were loud. I know people are trying to get him to calm down, but I didn't care, because that was really feeding in for Pat, and it was really kind of getting him excited, and his fans were really passionate and really vocal, and I'm all about it. I don't care if I could have heard myself or not. I was all
and
about
nobody
it.
had been real vocal all night, so it was nice to hear.
Yeah, it was welcome. It was welcome.
It was.
I agree. It was well needed, and I was totally fine with it, and they weren't saying anything too out of line, so I was okay with it. So yeah, I really hope that Logan, really jumps back on the horse and takes this next fight, not as soon as possible, but whenever's comfortable for him. And I hope that that's not another year. I really do, because for Logan Neal, a week is enough time to put on some love handles and get real fat. So we can't let him go a full year. But in all seriousness, he's in great shape, and I don't think that this one's going to discourage him for very long at all. And like a lot of people had said before, you look at some of his losses, and they were tough, hard-fought losses, and I think this is going to be another one in that column of just, yeah, it was a loss, but dang, you go back and look at that fight, and who else is stepping in the cage to take 5-5s with Pat Crumpton? I'm not. So, I'm impressed with Pat, and I'm looking forward to seeing his next fight.
That will do it, folks. That is our Aries 9 rundown. And we will have the videos coming up here on the YouTube channel here after 30 days. In the meantime, stay tuned and watching those Aries 8 videos. And Jeff, we're getting ready to head to Augusta this week. Big fight card. Make sure you check out our preview with Jared Williams from Conflict. We'll be posting that this week. Some really, really good fights on there I'm excited for. And then, of course, July 8th, we'll be back at the world famous Cotton Eye Joe to crown our first ever female champion. That'll be a lot of fun, with Mary Rosenbeck taking on Samantha Buttery at the Joe. And then it's time for the AMP, the one that we're all just kind of biding our time for at this moment, that big AMP card, which will hopefully be announcing a lot more fights in the coming weeks. Maybe see some Torres Finney. Maybe we will see some Zack Hicks. Who knows? So stay tuned for that. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Gentlemen, we appreciate your time here. We cut this thing under an hour, so that's always nice. For Jeff Hobbs, Dylan McCarthy, Houston Robertson, I'm Tim Loy. We'll see y'all next time on the 0 Hour.
See ya.